G'day guys, my name's Michael and I'm the Deadaussiegamer, here to share with you my tips, tricks, ideas and strategies for playing and running tabletop role-playing games. Now today we're continuing our topic of how to design a successful encounter. Now today we're going to be looking specifically at setting goals for our encounter as well as the different types of encounters we might use in our campaign. Now there are various challenges that we face while we try and use these, so some of these techniques are going to work really well, and some of them are going to require a bit of finesse, but we'll be talking about that through the video, so please enjoy as we now go into, let me see if I get this working, yep, there we go. Alright, fantastic. Encounter narratives. Now, I said this in the last video and I'm going to say it again. Encounters are more than just creating an obstacle for your party. It's more than simply wasting time or just throwing in mechanical numbers at your group. It is all about building a story, building a narrative that your players get to go on. And in order to do that, in fact, in order to even know if your encounter is successful, you have to set goals. Now, here are 5 goals that I think are very uniform. Doesn't matter what game you're playing, doesn't matter what encounter you're trying to make, these 5 goals show up more often than anything else. Now, the first goal here is progress. Now, by progress, I mean your characters make some form of advancement through the story. Whether or not it's the story of the main plot, their own personal quest and personal agenda, it could even be progress in a literal sense, where they are making progress towards a destination or other type of goal that they have set in game. Progress is a fantastic type of game because it means that your players walk away with a sense of achievement. That is how you know a progress game has achieved its goal, is your players sit there and go, yes, we have gained some ground. A lot of games tend to be the, I suppose, bait on a hook. You have the major plot with a sort of like bit of a worm that your players sort of chase after, but that worm always flicks back at the last second. Oh, what's that? We have to go kill this cult leader. Excellent. Yes, we killed the cult leader. Oh, wait, hang on. No, he was being manipulated by that person. All right, well, let's go kill that person. Okay, okay, cool. We found that person. Let's kill him. Oh, it's a fake. Okay, where's the real body? The real body's over there. Now, this is progress, right? But you need to make sure that they feel that sense of achievement, that they've actually done stuff. Okay, so the next one is thwart type goals. Now, if your goal is to thwart your party, okay, this is a challenging goal because thwarting your party means at the end of it, they need to feel as though they have lost ground or they have managed to fail in some way, shape, or form. Doing this comes with an inherent risk because if your players get a sense that they have failed, then they might actually turn around and basically go, well, why should we bother? We've just completely failed. There's nothing we could have done. There's no pulling out of this. All right, forget it. We're not even going to try anymore. To avoid this risk, what you want to make sure is that your players have some means of support within the narrative for them after they have failed. This could be an NPC that boosts them up. This could be a simple thank you from someone that they have managed to save. These things and more really help drive home that even though they have failed in the story, they have still retained that sense of being a hero. Now, a good example of a thwart encounter. Let's say that our encounter involves a lich. As many of you know, liches have phylacteries, and until the phylactery is destroyed, the lich will simply reform. Now, if we just follow this as a basic, kind of fundamental mechanic, then it's going to be a boring encounter. Yes, we killed the lich. Oh no, it's coming back. He's going to have his maniacal laugh. That's it. This is not a thwart encounter. A thwart encounter would be having the lich inform the group that by killing him here and now, you have allowed him to reform at his castle. Once he reforms at his castle, he is giving orders to his army to lay siege to a town that the PCs will have no time to go and save. Now, this means that the PCs, through their actions, have inadvertently furthered the enemy's goal, which is the whole idea of the thwartism thing. It gives them that sense of, oh no, what have we done? But at the same time, you've got that motivation of, wait, let's not give up. We need to get to this town. We know where he'll be. Let's get there and help them rally. This is actually really good to lean into the morale thing I'll talk about in a minute, but that is thwarting goals. Foreshadow goals. Now, foreshadowing is a very cool technique and one that I love doing more than anything else. It's often a little subtle, very juicy bit of narrative that leads into information of story yet to come. This could be this could be showing the repercussions of the actions of the villain. This could be something along the lines of getting a clue or a hint as to what their true nature is or their motivation. Foreshadowing is about sharing the story indirectly through the experience your players are having. Now, there is no going wrong with foreshadowing. The only thing you could maybe do wrong is if you do it for too long, or there's too much foreshadowing. Because as you build up an encounter, you need to make sure the payoff is good. There is no point in you foreshadowing a big, muscly orc by the name of the Grindbringer, who has ripped apart buildings with his bare hands, only to have him be 2 CRs lower than everyone else, and it to be a big hoax. It's kind of falls flat if you've built them up too much. So foreshadowing is a great technique, but make sure you follow through. Next up is morale. Now, this is something I think a lot of GMs overlook. Every single player that sits down to play a game is a living, breathing human being. They have feelings. They like to win. They like to succeed, and they hate to fail. Morale is about being able to understand where the group is feeling, whether they're feeling excited, whether they're feeling depressed, whether they're feeling super emotional. And playing the morale card is about designing an encounter to keep the morale where it needs to be. If the players are cocky and overconfident, maybe they need their morale adjusted a little bit. Maybe something dark and twisted that has simply occurred to help recheck the morale. Maybe if they are feeling a bit down in the dumps, a simple win, not an easy win or a free win, but a genuine win, can boost morale as well. These things are very important for your group, not for the characters, but for your players' mental health. Lastly, pace and time. A very simple answer to this is sometimes we want to buy a bit more time. We've come to the end of a game and, we've got an extra 2 hours left on our playtime. We need to come up with an encounter. Encounters that fulfill this are simply things that occupy time in an entertaining fashion. They don't have to be deep and rich and bold with the narrative, but they need to fulfill that primary essence, that sense of 2 hours is not just going to drag by. It is going to be something that you don't want to end. Pacing as well is also in this category because we're going to talk about the types of encounters as well, but we're looking at solutions and resolutions last week. If you encounter a scenario that is resolved by roleplay, pacing is about then trying to find a scenario that they need to resolve with battle, and then finding a scenario that they need to resolve by circumventing the encounter, and pacing it between these things. So you might say, you know what, they've done a bunch of battles, they've done a bunch of fights. I need to get some roleplay in, so my goal for this is to pace my adventure by throwing in a role-playing encounter. So these are the goals: progress, thwarting, foreshadowing, building morale, and of course setting the pace and time. So these things are what we set for ourselves and what we keep in our mind when we're designing encounters. But what kinds of encounters will we be able to use? Well, there are, in my opinion, 4 different types of encounters that you are going to be able to build. Your major plot encounters, your side plot encounters, your character plot encounters, and then, of course, random encounters. Now, your major plot is obviously your primary story. This is the story that you as a GM are trying to tell, and your players are bit parts to the adventure, eventually culminating to the finale where the players get to step up and rise or fall to the occasion. Side quests are kind of things to break up the main plot. If you can imagine eating a sandwich that is just bread, right? That's what it is to be a main plot. The bread is really nice and it's tasty. It's the majority of the sandwich, But then the side plot is like the bacon, the lettuce, the tomato, and all the little bits in the side that bring it all together and give it tons and tons of flavor. They may seemingly have no relevance to the main plot. In fact, they may have little bits of foreshadowing in it, but they're simple and isolated encounters for your players to enjoy so that the main plot doesn't get stale. Next is character plot. Now, this is all about trying to give your characters a moment in the sun, to give them that opportunity to really be able to shine and take center stage. We all design characters, and when we get to a certain point, we may decide that our background involves some sort of intricate plot that we would love our GMs to explore. If your GM is worth their salt, they'll maybe try and squeeze in one or two little plot points that'll further your character's development. These are your character quests. These are things to make your players feel special. And that's one of the beautiful things about it, is that you as a GM get a chance to not only feel special because your players are loving and enjoying your main plot, but you also get to return that favor by helping them achieve a fulfillment in their character. And last is your random encounter. Unlike the side quests, which are there for distinct foreshadowing and pacing and all of that, a random encounter is something that simply fills out the world. It simply adds that fluff and that padding that we need so that we can believe that we're in a world of imagination. The town guards, for example, being a group of people and having some tangible motivation, wandering through the wilderness to only find a carcass being torn apart by a bear that is wandering in the nearby wilderness. These are your random encounters that not only have nothing to do with the main plot, they don't further any of the stories, they don't build up any of the character stuff, but they are still encounters nonetheless. So these 4 types of encounters are the ones that you're going to want to be able to use whilst playing the game. But how do we decide? How do we marry the idea of the goals to our major plots? To our various plots. With our major plots, we want to make sure that the idea leans towards progress, right? We don't want to get to a point where our players sit and spin their wheels. If they get to that point, well, you need to do something to kick them forward. The worst thing for me when I am running a major plot is my PCs getting distracted. This could be getting distracted by looking and being interested in one of my side plots. This could also be even while I'm trying to deliver a monologue with my evil villain and my PCs thinking that they can get a free surprise round if they interrupt me and decide to shoot my big bad in the face. Needless to say, these things, while frustrating, can be overcome very easily. Inform your players that this is a major plot point, or this is a cinematic moment, or please raise your hands if you've got something and I'll get to you. There's kind of a lot to go through here, so I don't want to be interrupted, so that we can get through all the stuff and we can get to what you guys actually do. Just being open with them over this kind of thing will help you build out the major plot and make it a lot more enjoyable. Side plots are also relatively simple. Honestly, being so insular, you can win, lose, or draw with them, and you'll be fine. Unlike a major plot where if your major plot fails, generally that's where your campaign falls down. If a side plot fails, you can actually learn quite a lot from it. If you have an idea for a major plot point further on down the track, I often suggest that you write a small side quest that uses the techniques that you want to use in the main plot later on. By revealing it as a side quest, you can then gauge how your players would react to that encounter. Alright, so I've got this encounter where I want to trick my paladin into accidentally killing a child. I'm going to do this by putting the child into a torpor, burying it alive while it's still kind of alive, having given the paladin information that the child is probably going to turn into a zombie, false information. Paladin digs up the body, tries to bless the body, and when the child wakes up, the paladin stabs it through the heart. The thing is that I'm not sure if my paladin's going to really enjoy that. So let's try something different. Here's a side quest where this paladin was deceived into allowing a demon to bind its soul to itself. And let's see what my player thinks. And then as you play that adventure out, you can go, okay, my paladin really hated that. He did not like that one bit. I probably shouldn't do it to him. Side quests are a brilliant way to learn while you are playing a game with the characters in the game. Because obviously when the game changes, when the players change, that you could end up with a whole bunch of different scenarios that'll happen. So you need to be able to gauge what your players will do, and yeah, side quests are best for that. Now, character quests. Now, here's the thing. Character quests, I feel, are like shining a spotlight on a player. Some players love the spotlight, and I don't know what that's like. I mean, spotlight. But some players also do not. What you want to do is you want to make sure that your table management skills are on point for this particular type of plot. If you follow those encounters and you shine the light on, say, someone who just doesn't want it on them, you might find that they just turn toxic and turn around and just say, no, I don't want to engage with this. Yeah, I know you're trying to engage me, but look, I want to do the plot. I don't know why we're focused on my thing. I'm not interested in my thing. Some people haven't even written backstories, and, you know, if you try and force them into it, you'll end up building resentment. And likewise, if you focus on entirely on someone who is a center of attention kind of person, again, you may build some resentment from the other players. I've recently been in a game where we spent, I think, the better part of 2 sessions. One session entirely focused on one player's story. He actually literally went on an entire dungeon crawl by himself. And then the second adventure was on me and one other player, and it was about our own personal quest. The problem is that there are 4 people at the table, and at any given time, 2 or 3 people were just not engaged. They weren't doing anything. In fact, at some point or another, they pulled out their phone and started playing mobile app games, which, again, is a big taboo in my opinion, but I couldn't fault them because they literally hadn't been asked or engaged for over 2 hours, you know? And if you think about that, you know, not engaging people for that long, it's crazy. So when you do your character quests, remember, manage the table as well. While this person may be the center of attention for that plot, you still need to engage everyone and make sure everyone is doing something while on these character-based plots. Lastly, random encounters. Now, random encounters, as mentioned, are all about trying to build out and flesh out the world. Best way to do this is to know about the world. Know about where it is your characters are traversing. Figure out like what kind of monsters, what kind of creatures will be lurking in the area. What types of hazards, environmental encounters. You know, I've even had encounters where the weather itself has created a whole adventure. This was actually, although taken from, I want to say, what was it called? The Little Dinosaur? The Littlest Dinosaur is a Pixar film. And I had it so that my players were engaged in a storm. So like there was these quests, it was raining, there was a landslide, there was lightning and thunder. It was great. And then my players emerged from their shelters and found a group of cultist druids that chased the storm and basically what's the word? They're preying upon things that were injured or like broken by the storm itself. So they'd find a person with a broken leg trapped under a tree. They'd kill that person, steal all their stuff, maybe even cannibalize them. So that made for a fantastic adventure. The random encounter of like, wow, you know, there are actually these people running around in this world chasing storms like this. That's insane. That's crazy. And so cool. Didn't further the plot at all, but it gave them that kind of sense of, you know, desperation and built a really nice vibe that I wanted to have for them. So that's all we have for today's video, covering, of course, the types and the goals. So let me just go back to the goals real quick so that you guys can take another look at that. So again, looking at the types of encounters, we got our major plot, our side plot, our character plot, and our random encounters. And then for our goals, we have progressing the story, thwarting the players so they work with the enemy or they work backwards, foreshadowing an encounter, so leading in and leaning into things that'll happen in the future, morale, boosting or diminishing morale as needed, and of course pacing your game and understanding that time can sometimes be a major factor for your encounter. So using these techniques and following these goals are how you are going to make an encounter go from being a good encounter to a great encounter to a successful encounter. thank you so much, guys, for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Go check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/Deadaussiegamer. Come say hi to us on Discord. We have our Discord stuff down the bottom there in the links below. And of course, if you want to support Dead Aussie Gamer and you maybe want to come play a game with me or check out some of my other videos that are secret and kept hidden away by tiny goblins, then head on over to our Patreon at patreon.com/DeadAussieGamer. It's really cool, and a lot of the new rewards are being taken super well, so thank you everyone who has jumped on the bandwagon. Until next time, guys, as always, game hard or die trying. See you later.